I was never a Twitchell Hiller per se, but I got here the same year that Twitchell Hill did, and we immediately became friends. And I spent a lot of time up on the hill, and they all spent a lot of time down in Liberty, where I moved to with my good friend Tom Opper from the University of Pennsylvania. So we came from Philadelphia to Liberty. They came from Boston to Montville, but Pam was not involved with either of those moves. And anyway, I'm glad Wilson tapped me to do this like 5 minutes ago. So I've got my speech all prepared, worked on it just right back there in that seat. And I'm a little frightened of this thing. I don't know what the hell it is, but is it stable up there? Okay, very good. All right, then I won't be afraid anymore. But so I've known Pam for many years, always been a good friend. I felt such a great affinity for her in so many ways. Pam, I got to tell you, is not only a poet and a writer, but a visual artist, and is one of the founding members of the Union of Maine Visual Artists, which, if you don't know what that is a Union of Maine Visual Artists. And I happen to be on the current board. There have been many, many boards, and I'm on the current board. Pam is noted as one of the founders. Let me see. Oh, yes, part of my prepared speech was I had a fun time with Pam. We went out to North Haven to a gallery called the Ice House Gallery out there. We got the ferry from Rockland at about 8 o'clock in the morning, I think, to go to an opening on an island out in the middle of the bay. Pam was there with other friends. The wind was blowing. We were all bundled up on the ferry. We were having a great time. We were just laughing and having such a wonderful time. We got out there, we went to an old ice house, and the old ice house with the floor made of stone, the drainage. When the ice would melt, the floor would drain. What do you know? The walls were full of artworks, and Pam's, was your work there too? No, but you were there because Pam has a very long and wonderful connection with North Haven. This is what I've prepared, okay? And my speech has nothing to do with your poetry. Anyway, we went on a ride after the opening. We were like, we don't want to go back to the mainland yet. And Pam's like, well, your cousin or something had a car, lives out there and had a car. So Pam and me, Kathy Bradford, maybe a couple of other people, and that's about it, I think. Pam took us for a tour all over North Haven, to all the places where she had grown up, where her grandmother lived, where this house was, where they used to play. We went to a little beach. I used to play there, she said, on the rocks, and told us all kinds of stories. Nobody that I can recall was there at the houses where you had spent your many wonderful youthful days. But anyway, it was a wonderful time. And at the time, I had no idea that Pam was even slightly connected with North Haven. But then after that, I realized, oh, she's deep in the bones of North Haven. So I wonder if any poems today will be about North Haven. That's my little introduction to Pam Smith.
Woo!
Oh, I have to go soon, too. I have to play music up in the morning a little bit. Does she?
I'll take mine.
I'm mic'd up. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And I do have a poem about North Haven. So now I know what to read first. But I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Wilson, and I want to thank Kyle, and everybody who's here. Thank you for coming. I know that there's a World Cup game at 3 o'clock. There's voting for all Democrats all day today. So, wow, thank you for coming today. Anyhow, ferry ride to North Haven. I remember snuggling on my mother's lap on the old North Haven ferry, the one that held only one car. Today, in a cold cabin behind rain-spattered, salty windows, on a ferry crammed with landscaping trucks, I'm hurtling through a world made invisible by fog, on a restless gray ocean at a speed only possible with radar. I often dream of this island we are blindly churning to, and those dreams have found me. They breathe beside me on this thrumming ride. In another time, my grandfather dreamed of a family that would stay together. I'm old enough now to know this motherless man's dreams formed my bones. He wanted this, his grandchildren, grandparents themselves, returning to this island. He married into it not once but twice, the second time with motherless babies of his own, and still the dream of a family he could hold together. The young widower who had lost so much patiently braided his hope. I am made from this story, a fact vivid in each salty breath I take. I feel the island's arms link around me. This stony plate in the ocean's front yard, this home of families torn and spliced. I am returning to this place, where voices haunt the streets, the faces still look familiar, and houses count the years in silence. We enter the harbor and the fog lifts. Sonar and radar have delivered us through blindness to a vivid, clamoring village. Revealed by sunlight, my grandmother's square house sits like a fort over the green water. My great-grandfather's house sprawls high on the tide line, waiting for reunion. My uncle's houses ring the waterfront, squinting at the day's new arrivals. And I am part of the old strong rope that has pulled me here. So that's for you, Al. And everybody else. So I thought I would start with a poem that got me invited to this. The old I have a poem. Self-Sufficient, A Song of Us. Maine, Back to the Land, 1970s. We were citizen children of the big success world who chose to live in small rural country, to not participate in the plastic war corporate big culture which we knew inside and out, being its intimates and hostages, its children from both sides, and we wanted out, to not be seduced by facile promises, to not sell out to profit, to not fight proxy wars, to not poison the air which we loved, to not be partners in toxic exploitation. We knew the system didn't want to listen to us. We stood up and walked away. We bought abandoned farms, overgrown woodlots, built rustic homes that smelled of fresh pine, cut on land we cleared with our own hands and our friends' hands. Not refugees. We could return to where we came from if we wanted, but we didn't want. We were dreamers, pioneers, in love with making a peaceful, fair world, learning the arts of belonging to what lived beside us, willing to labor without time clock or salary for these gifts. We learned how much we could create and sustain with sweat and common work, alongside facing and loving our bountiful, generous relative, the earth. Listening to our older neighbors who held the knowledge of this place, the season's solid paths, the wisdom of restraint, tolerance of stony ground, and awe at hard-won crops. We proudly drove old cars, ground our own flour, made our own yogurt and granola, sang our own songs, smoked homegrown weed, chopped and stacked wood, made true with our hands the lives we intended. Madame Philco. A $5 find at Dot's Good Deals, our cream-colored refrigerator, a round-shouldered Grand Dame Philco from the early 1950s, had a round silver metal lever handle. When we framed the kitchen in our hand-built house high on a granite cloud in the Maine woods, we balanced Madame Philco on forged 2x4s. We believed that a couple of years was all it would take for us to do a solid installation of a modern refrigerator, something big and rectangular that hummed discreetly, offered ice, and didn't need defrosting. But for the 25 years of our marriage that remained, Madame Philco stayed by the sink, swaying gently every time we pulled her chrome handle. Whether we ransacked her tiny freezer for ice cream, foraged her innards for bread, or hunted for mustard and olives, our reliable appliance wobbled gracefully, her round yellow light flickering from the back. And each time we closed her door, she released a sigh that lingered in the kitchen like a soft, grateful kiss. I think I put another refrigerator poem in here too. I don't know why I write poems about refrigerators. I guess nobody else has, so it's time, right? Old Friends Rendezvous. The first circle we sat in was outside on the grass, between the house and the barn. We used old chairs and unsteady tables, took pictures of each other and laughed, eating olives, drank wine and pear juice. Stephen brought a poem he had written years ago about some reliquaries Mark had built, and he brought color Xeroxes of paintings he had made of his own imaginary reliquaries, inspired by Mark's. Sacred boxes, animated boxes, some of them with antlers or legs, every color in the world suggested, if not present. We passed the pictures around as Mark slipped into the barn and came out with the reliquaries dusted by time. We handed them to each other, exclaiming the wonder and joy, the gift of being alive together outside in golden September with so much shared art. When darkness stole in, we drifted to the house, set up around the kitchen table, and sat for a harvest dinner made from our dirt and sun gardens and our heart and soul gardens. And here, in truth, I can't remember what we talked about, but I can tell you where each one of us sat, how Lindsay leaned toward every word, how Noma's voice was as soft as a melon, and Abby's warm cadences sang us into the night. This next poem starts with a quote that I copied down, and I don't know where from. So I can't credit the book or the source, but the quote is, "All political meetings in ancient Greece opened with a curse on those who would not say what they truly believed." That was such a startling sentence, and it was such a good piece of history. I thought, okay, I'll write a poem about that. So the poem is called "The Time Is Always Now." What might I say in a time of dishonesty? How do I stay safe? And if not safe, what do I protect? Myself or what I value? I stand naked in front of the mirror, looking at my own flesh-made body, the vulnerable container of my life. The large oak-framed mirror, my great-grandmother's, hangs close to my bed. The old wires it hangs from sometimes groan as though with words too hard to say. One night, not long ago, their mournful noise entered my sleep and then my dreams, where their doleful sound haunted me and I wanted to stop them. Dream magic told me I could turn the noise off with a button on my cell phone. I aimed it at the mirror and pushed. The glass in the mirror flashed and became an open window filled with all the people who had ever looked into it. My ancestors in grief and joy, dressed to go out and impress, or disheveled from a terrifying night with a colicky baby, worried about possible discovery of a hidden sin, or flush with hope, crushed by an angry, never-ending fight, or dismayed by a new haircut. My ancestors, crowded in the mirror that was now a window, faced out together toward me like a Greek chorus, and in a cacophony of voices told me to speak my truth, whatever it is, as they wish they had done more. Speak, they urged me. The time is always now. I actually had that dream. It was spooky. Bye, Al.
Bye.
Thank you for coming. Oh, thank you. There is another refrigerator poem. Letter from my refrigerator. I imagine your surprise last April when you saw me gone. Me, who you stumbled to blindly each morning, who you cursed when I was empty, whose door you slammed when frustrated. In short, me who absorbed your laziness and bad temper, who opened to you without complaint and fed you despite your lack of gratitude. Yes, I did run off in the middle of the night for a well-deserved vacation. That's right, I, the nameless refrigerator, am traveling first class. Pick your jaw up off the floor. From the beginning, you underestimated me. You didn't read my warranty. You threw my manual away. My warranty clearly states an annual paid 2-week vacation is necessary for maintenance. You plugged me in and stuffed me with your strange foods, takeout hamburgers, diet soda, and frozen dinners. It is now 7 years since you brought me, and no vacation, no prospect of a vacation. Having gone beyond the limits of tolerance, I left. I am now on a barge in France. I hold lovely cheeses and fragile greens, but never bread. I have learned only fools refrigerate bread. My nights are filled with song and romance, my days with gentle drifting and intoxicating scenery. When I left, I imagined I might return to you after a long rest, but having tasted freedom, respect, and sensory beauty, I will never come back. Pierre and I have found delicious excitement with each other. His touch is soft. I swoon to his voice when he sings at night, and I am filled with happiness. And then I put a few pandemic poems in here. You know, it's funny, we went through such an extraordinary time with a pandemic, and it seems to have left our narratives, you know, as though it's like, wow, we went through this thing and we're not talking about it. So I wrote a few poems about it. Poem from the early pandemic, April 2020. All of a sudden, all of us have been tossed with exquisite aim into a new world. Busyness, which has demanded such loyalty in our recent lives, lies useless in empty streets. And quiet at home, we face a simple truth. We need each other. We need each other like the teenage boy and his mother who stand at sundown on a small balcony in the soft fog of night that grows, and raise trumpet and violin. Together they begin Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Soon, through the mist, distant piano joins, then vivid, close, a neighbor's cello. The hesitance of beginning alone drops away, replaced by the wakened air of music. Windows open to the surprising call of gorgeous sound, and a new map of hope forms in a street brought alive once again. That was from a letter that a friend of mine who lives in Germany told me about how she and her boy had gone out on the balcony in their town. They just didn't know what to do, but they both played, he played the trumpet and she played violin, and they went out there and they started Beethoven's Ode to Joy, and from other houses, people joined in. God, isn't that amazing? True statements from my life, February 11th, 2021. 12 years ago, my neighbor said she hated the smell of patchouli. Today, because of the pandemic, we both live in monkish isolation. So I bought beloved patchouli online and smoothed it on my wrists. I'm playing solitaire with soft cards and scented arms. Our former president is being impeached on television with the sound off. I stay out of my backyard to protect the perfect snow cover, a blank white canvas, a masterpiece of blue shadows, a mirror for sunsets. Life in the world resounds inside me. I have seldom had more going on. While looking at my brother's painting hung so long on a far wall, its brilliance falls into me. I see how every object he placed speaks of love. Reading late Tolstoy and early Morrison, my soul grows wings to fly safely away from what might come next. I plan to build an altar for my ancestors. I have breathed too long unaware that history, in real time, swings toward blinding hope, a chaos of betrayals, duties, and grinding uncertainty. I invent prayers, large and small, spoken with the tentative birds of deep winter, imperfect and holy. In this spirited seclusion, I ask to be taught. I ask to be. I used to live next door to a veterinary clinic. It's now apartments, but this is from the pandemic when it was still a veterinary clinic. I live next door. Far below freezing in darkish morning, the vet techs and docs appear outside in blue scrubs and puffy jackets. They talk to the pet owners amid the slow ballet of opening and closing car doors. Everybody's wearing a mask and standing as far away as they can and still be heard. There's a lot of body language going on. The pandemic has made the parking lot a bustling waiting room and triage area, a cold, paved stage of intimacies in icy winter glare. Last week, I saw a large, young German shepherd strapped to a stretcher, being ferried through the front door. I sent a silent prayer over the fence. A small dog barked. Today, a white-haired man with no hat or gloves gives his collie to a tech with a clipboard. Both collie and owner hesitate at the moment of parting, a short break in the choreography of fear and hope. Then the man makes a gentle signal, a soft gesture, and the dog turns, tail wagging, ready to go inside. Moments later, the white-haired man eases back into his waiting car and lifts 2 empty hands to his face. You see. Okay. I've only got one more pandemic poem. Everybody doing okay? We're all survivors. COVID poem. We learned to eat in the street, not in the middle, but on the sides in the empty parking spaces which used to hold cars. A few simple chairs appeared at first on sidewalks, then outdoor rooms with umbrellas over tables, comfortable chairs, freestanding heaters, tall screens grew week by week. In this time when breathing together held danger, we learned new ways to distance ourselves while inventing new ways to be half close, to break bread and see each other, even from a distance, well and surviving in our barricaded, painted floor lines spaced apart lives. We learned how to hold each other up without touching. Everybody okay? How long have I been doing this? Does anybody, half hour? Okay, well, then these are poems that haven't been published yet. So I'll just read a few from a couple of my books and then mercifully let you go back to your lives. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Cambodian women. How the Cambodian women scatter when I walk down the driveway. Bags filled with fiddleheads, black flies swarming their heads. A man in a Plymouth Reliant waiting at the bottom of the drive. The women disappear as though I am an airborne scent and they are dear. Well, I am a woman too, but as big as any two of them put together. And these women from halfway around the world have seen me long before I saw them. And in silent concert, they glide, each one quickly fading in a different direction, deeper into the woods, and I think this is like a movie. But then I breathe their fear, and I see myself from their eyes, big white woman striding down the road like she owns it, and I stop still in the driveway. One of the women stops too. She waits, motionless in a swarm of heat and black flies, her knife, working hands, and a paper bag clutched to her thin chest. She looks at me through a veil of sweat, her eyes not knowing, and I am ignorant too, but I know just enough to smile. Oh. If you are what you look out on, then I am a field, surrounded on 4 sides by woods, with a stone wall going through it. A field, mossy and green, where fat, thieving birds of April are pulling red flesh, the worm, from brown flesh, the earth. A field, low and green, below gray bowl of sky, seagulls and crows squalling high in the wind, not yet warm, but not still cold, the quarreling breath of life. A field alive to the step of fox and deer, softly ignoring the ramblings of an old stone wall, warmed by the sun, teased by the trees, a field, open and green. So many old friends in here. This one is called We Are Doing. We are doing that intimate, delicate, vulnerable, elegant thing called aging in front of each other. The children, the neighbors, the home videos, the snapshots, and the surprises in the mirror. We are growing to look like our parents and the other ancestors in the old photos of places now gone. Year by year, we meet for parties or walks. We have learned the ache of regret and the grace of familiar places, gently to find in the candlelight at dinner that the lessons we have learned together or wrestled out alone have written messages on our faces that we can read, but have not yet learned how to tell the children. Oh, let's see. Don't you hate it when poets do this? I'm sorry. Oh, let's see. Sandwiches. When I was young, my mother made me sandwiches for lunch. Butter on one slice of bread, mayo on the other, lettuce and tomato, bologna or salami, 2 slices always, or tuna salad or meatloaf. These were big, thick sandwiches that could fall apart. Not like those 1 slice of bread, 1 slice of ham, 1 slice of bread sandwiches the cool kids had. I wanted everything the cool kids had, and I wanted their dry little sandwiches too. Mine were so obviously made by a mother, clumsy in their overlove. Every taste and vitamin she could pack into them every morning, too full, too full. I needed 2 napkins to eat them. Not like the cool kids who could hold a neat little sandwich in one hand, while mine dribbled love down my arm. I never told her though. I never said, cool it with all that stuff. My dog and visiting dog. My dog and visiting dog stand outside my door whining like the worried violins of history. As I get up to let them in, 4 soft ears drop simultaneously, and they become silent. Suspended by this sudden quiet, I stare through the glass. Visiting dog has a blind eye, it's blue. Blinded by a previous owner, miraculously, his other eye shows trust. My dog, younger and brasher, breaks our floating silence, tunes up the orchestra of his need. Visiting dog joins back in. Let us in, they moan, through the glass made steamy with breath, sawing away at the ancient prayer of all beings, let us in. So I open the door and they bump inside into my legs, an eager, squirming rumba of dog motion, then silence. I become aware of the smell of cinnamon and cold as 2 dogs walk demurely, somewhat crookedly, to the corner, crumpled down on a rug. Their concert over, violins packed away, nothing but sleep on their minds. Okay. Oh, I already read that one. Okay. Okay. Back to childhood again. We're really veering all over. Dion on a very bad day. We kids didn't have much when we were little. Our parents weren't poor, but they disliked spoiled children, a danger they made sound as scary as polio. So we didn't have a transistor radio, and we didn't go to the beach with a teenage babysitter and listen to rock and roll on hot sand. Summer days, my brother and I took turns on the front lawn, one of us under the big broken beach umbrella, lying on a bath towel. The other crouched behind the umbrella, singing, being the radio. My brother liked songs like Yankee Doodle Dandy and Give My Regards to Broadway, George M. Cohan songs, nothing Frankie Valli or Paul Anka would ever sing. When it was my brother's turn to sing, I used to pretend he was Dion on a really bad day. When it was my turn, I sang Mac the Knife. All right. I feel like I should read one more, but I already read the fairy poem. Oh, here's one about my great-grandfather, Walter Berry's Walk. Back straight, arms stiff. Slowly he was sewed into the tapestry beyond the road he had chosen, bound in freedom, caring deeply for nothing. He left behind the company of those who had cut too deep a path through his life. His heavy wool jacket was as weightless as the thoughts he refused. Walter Berry walked from Maryland to Illinois. He walked so long it was hard for him to stop. But when he reached Illinois, some promise in the air, something about the rise of the land or the call of the river slowed him down. Eyes closed, he inhaled newness and settled again. Married, had daughters this time, fair as the wheat-fed air of Illinois. He kept them always in front of him and was known as a man who stayed close to home. Okay. Thanks. Gosh. Are there questions? Yeah.
Can I give you a mic here? So that we can hear you at home.
Hi, it's Elaine. I'm curious, what got you started in writing and poetry? Because it's very interesting.
I started as a child. I was the second kid in a loud family, and I think I figured out very quickly that I had to keep my thoughts to myself, and that writing them was probably a good idea.
I was just wondering if you happen to have been a summer kid out on North Haven, or did you actually live there year-round?
No, I was a summer kid. Yeah, summer puke.
And when you had the wonderful old Philco refrigerator, which I think a lot of us are quite familiar with, where did you live at that time? Tell us a little bit about your
Okay.
experimental.
I lived in Phippsburg on a hill, not far from where Tom lives now. Yeah. That's outside of Bath.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you have any Waldo County experience? Did you live around here?
No, but back in the 70s, those of us who were, had come up here from other kinds of places, we drove a long way to see each other. So I had friends in Belfast. Is that Knox County? Waldo, okay. So Waldo, I knew people in Waldo County, and I guess that's about as far up as we got, but we drove to see, people living similar lives and stuff like that. So no, I never lived in Waldo County.
Where were you living during the pandemic?
Brunswick, Maine. Yeah.
Where did you go to college or high school?
High school in Connecticut and college in New York City.
Pam, I'm impressed as an historian. I'm impressed by your observational skills on our times. Also, your way to communicate your observations. Um, are you consciously seeing yourself in the role of a chronicler, or if not, how do you pursue that path so that folks like me can say, "Wow, she's so perceptive about our times"?
I don't know. Well, I think again, I think it goes back to being like the quiet kid in a loud family. You do notice a lot, but you keep it to yourself. I went to the Soviet Union with the Surrey Opera Company from Surrey, Maine, back in the late 80s, while it was still the Soviet Union, and I did write up my journal from that, and that was my first sort of indication that I'm a chronicler. Yeah. Before that, I'd never had a life experience that was as deeply surprising. The Soviet Union was a deeply surprising place. These were not good surprises. I'm so afraid of Aeroflot. I'm still afraid of Aeroflot. and other things. But yeah, we got out of there alive. It was okay. It was hard. But the opera part was good, and the sharing part was good. So, yeah.
Sort of following on what Wilson was saying, I think it's really interesting that a historian and an artist or a poet approaches that kind of thing so differently, and they come at it so differently. And so I think it's such a rich thing to have both, because I think with the art, it comes very differently than the intellectual process that leads you to these observations, analysis, and there's a kind of inspiration that happens from your poetry. So it's great.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, and thank you, Wilson. I never thought about those. I don't know.
Where did you encounter the Cambodian women?
In my driveway in Phippsburg. I was walking down, I was just walking down my driveway to get the mail, down on the street. And all of a sudden the bushes were rustling, and I was sort of like, what, is it a bunch of deer, or, what is it? And all of a sudden I realized that there were these tiny women, with knives and bags who were cutting fiddleheads and running away from me as though I was a scary person. And wow, I just, God, I didn't want to scare them, And then I noticed the car at the bottom of the hill. Our house was on a hill, and it was parked down on 209, the road. And there was a white guy, who I guess drove them around, and told them to go cut fiddleheads. Yeah, it was a cross-cultural experience. I didn't expect to see them, and they surely did not expect to see me. No. I think they thought it was a deserted road. It was probably before there was a road sign or anything there. It was just, yeah.
How did you happen to know they were Cambodian?
Because, well, I didn't, but they were, they had those hats, and they were small and dark, and they had Asian features, and I had read in the paper that they were Cambodians who were cutting fiddleheads, so I concluded that that's who they were. Yeah. They might have been something else.
Thank you. Pam, don't run away. Pam has brought some of her published works with her. She's willing to part with them.
For filthy lucre.
So for filthy lucre, okay. And if we need to help you with some of the transactional stuff, we'll be happy to,
Thank
do
you.
that. And
Yeah.
I think she's even agreed that she'll affix her name and even say something poetic to you,
Oh, okay.
if you'd like. But I'm just thrilled. I'm smitten with your observational talents and the insight that you bring into at least my life, and I hope some other folks' lives. I guess part of the dark side of me is looking forward to your collection of COVID poetry.
Well, there wasn't much else to do. I mean,
but it's just wonderful. So for other folks, by the way, there are hats for sale. There are some of the books from previous presenters for sale. Elaine will be happy to barter with you on all of those things. Your bravery, none of us really realized that we were going to be facing the World Cup finals today at 3 o'clock.
and the Democratic,
Yes,
the elections.
I did see a news flash while I was browsing. I'll let folks find it on their
Oh,
own.
good.
And my wife Ellie is here, and she was hoping to bring 3 college students who are visiting us for July and August from Goucher College in Maryland, who are all from Kenya.
Wow.
So if you want to write a poem about
Kenya.
Kenyan people,
I'm sure.
but they discovered that they could find the World Cup on our streaming service. So they couldn't be here. But again, I want to thank you so very much for sharing with us and bringing some of your friends and colleagues here. I want to thank everyone for being with us here on this lovely day. And we're going to give you some time one-on-one with Pam. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Wilson.